welcome back to the show. And I'm joined with the family business guy, Mr. John Broons. How are you, John?
Good, thanks, Mike.
John, it was interesting. We were having a bit of a chat before we turned the cameras on, and we're talking about families that are in business and whether they're going to be active or reactive. And you kind of caught my attention on that when I'm thinking, what do you actually mean by this, John?
Well, families that are in business, obviously business is something that is 24/7. They're working on the business all the time. But when it comes to talking about the family things, the family involvement, who's who in the zoo, what do we need to do, who's coming, who's going, how do we talk about money, how do we give dividends, how do we talk about shares? Yeah. A lot of families struggle with those kinds of conversations. And in my experience, the majority of them are reactive. In other words, they end up putting a structure in place in the beginning, and then when things change, they don't change the structures or the documentation or have the conversations that they need so that when something happens, it could be a catastrophe or it could be just an economic change, something in a business cycle, they're not ready to make changes. So they're not planning, so they are reactive to the circumstances around them.
What do you think causes, I mean, I suppose it applies to anyone in business, but specifically families in business have got unique challenges. Why don't you think that they do this planning? Why do you think that they get into this reactive mode rather than an active mode?
In generally, the smaller businesses are so busy doing business.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure you would know what I'm talking about. From your experience, when you start something up, startups or even smaller businesses, in a growth curve, you're actually trying to keep the business going. Yeah. You're working hard at making that business work. So when an accountant comes to you and says, no, we have to start looking at the tax implications here, it's a distraction. It's not something that you might be proactive about going and doing some work on. Or similarly, there's a partnership that needs to be adjusted, or we need to have a shareholders agreement, or the constitution of the business might need to change because there might be more children, there might be more grandchildren. How then do we account for these things, and what might we want to do in the future that the current constitution of the business doesn't allow us to do?
Do you think that these, what can be termed or seen as distractions, do you think they kind of cause frustrations for the families in business and the people leading those families? They kind of going, well, I just don't need to deal with this right now. I've got lots of other things on my plate.
Well, who are you in the family, you see, in the business? You could be the son who's been in the business for 5 years, working away, and I'm not really interested to know what's in mum and dad's will, but mum and dad, if they're reactive, they don't even tell their son what's in the will. So when things unfold 20 years down the track or 10 years down the track and somebody passes away, that son might have needed to know what was in the will, because there might be lots of responsibilities in there that may not have been intended, or he may be responsible for that he doesn't want to be responsible for.
Because we do find that, don't we? Just drifting just slightly there when you said that, a lot of people and a lot of sons and a lot of daughters may go into a family business, or an in-law may go into a family business, but they just work there. And so to them, it's just a job. They just work there. They like it, but it's just a job. And when you say someone passes away or circumstances change and they go, here's now your response, they're going, I never signed up for this.
Well, not only that, imagine if that individual, the son or the daughter, is in the business and there's a sibling who's outside the family business, and there's a lot of conversations that haven't taken place, and why did you get the business when I should have had some of the business? I'm entitled just as you are to get it. And the parents, if they've never explained it or had a conversation and they haven't planned for something like this to happen, we're going to pass at some stage.
Yes.
Why didn't we have a conversation about what we wanted our children to know?
Yeah.
So that's an active way of discussing family business.
Do you think that one of the barriers to discussing family business is because it's family and the generations that may be in control of the business at the time, or stewardship, as you like to term it, that's a really awkward conversation to have one-on-one, because there may be things in there that they might not want to say face-to-face?
The challenges for families are, if we go back culturally, the challenges of families are, it never happened, we never talked about this in the past, in my dad's day, and I never heard about it happening in grandpa's day. So should it be any different today? Why can't we be proactive and have the conversations that we need to have about family going forward, all related to the business?
Yeah. So someone who's looking, going, well, I've kind of put these conversations off, or I've never even thought of having them because my dad never had them, my granddad never had them. How do they start to switch from reactive to proactive?
It's making a decision. We are going to be proactive. We are going to start planning. When you make that decision, we are going to start planning. Already you feel a little bit lighter. You know, yeah, okay. Then we pick a date in a diary. When can the whole family come together? And then we've got a starting date. If we don't know what we're doing, we need to then put a little bit of an agenda together. What do we want to talk about at our first meeting?
And can that first meeting sometimes be, what are we going to discuss at our family meetings? Can it just be the family contributes to what they all feel should be discussed?
Yes, and in most cases, that's a nice way to start. If everybody gets along, that's really great. If there are issues between individuals within the family, and sometimes there's baggage that comes into the room.
True.
In a lot of cases, there's baggage. It's very few circumstances where there isn't baggage. Yeah. But if siblings are getting along, let's sit down and have a conversation. If we get along with mum and dad, or grandma, grandpa, let's sit down and talk about it.
Yeah.
If there's baggage, if there's issues that are sitting outside, that you know when the individuals walk in the room, they come with those little carry-on bags, right? And they open them up whenever they want to.
Yeah.
In that situation, how wonderful would it be if there's somebody that has no vested interest, that understands a little bit about family dynamics, if there's an external person that can call a timeout, hang on, we don't need to go there, that's actually just all you're out to do is fire somebody up emotionally there. That's not really the kind of question we're trying to answer.
Yeah.
Take the emotion away. We're not there yet. Let's play some what ifs.
Yeah.
So sometimes we can have that external person, and it's a great value if you've got somebody who actually doesn't have a vested interest, and over time can get to be a trusted advisor to the family.
Yeah. Because I can imagine, as you said, you know, and I think you described it before, sometimes people can walk in a room and when they look at a person across the other side, all they see is a cult full of buttons that they can and have fun pressing buttons, and it is not constructive. Nothing gets done, just an argument occurs.
Yeah. Sometimes it can be just as easy, what's the most important thing we need to talk about today? And we have a 15-minute or a half-hour conversation about what's the most important thing and what are we going to take away from this. Do we need to make a decision today, or do we need to talk again in a week or 2 weeks' time, digest our conversation and then come back and we'll decide.
So we're treating it very much like as you would normal business planning. We're setting an agenda, we're having a look at what actions or what results or outcomes we want to achieve, and then we're putting some time frames and some follow-ups in there to make sure we work towards that outcome. And of course, check that the outcome is still the one we want.
Very much so. But when it's the family, talking about family, we're learning about each other in the family, which builds on our culture.
Yes. Wow.
And if we really want to get down, right at the beginning, we can start talking about what are our values? What do we really hold true to that everyone around the table, mother, father, grandparent, uncle, auntie, son, daughter, grandchild, if we can articulate our values and know what we stand for, why we're here, why we're doing what we're doing as a family, that's a very powerful tool to go forward with.
It's interesting you say about values for families. You know, I've got friends and they're Italian and they're all Sicilian Italian, and they have what their family stands for. And they mean as in values what their family stands for. And they're very proud that this is the culture of our family. And I suppose what you're saying is that strength. A business can have values where when we're not in a family business, and a family can have its own individual values, but when the two come together, there may be a mismatch, or there may be a perfect match, or there may be a blend.
What I've found in my experience is that the family values transpose into the business,
Right.
but not all of the family values. I mean, love doesn't necessarily
No.
evolve into a family business.
Yeah.
Profit is not generally a family business, family value. Whereas profit or revenue can be listed depending on who is talking about the values in the business sense. So if we can articulate our family values,
It's a good starting point.
it's a great starting point. There's some one particular family I worked with, and one of the top 5 values of this family was fun.
Oh,
In a workshop where we sat down and we workshopped it, we talked about values, and there was, it went over a number of hours.
yeah.
One word that came out in every family member's list, including in-laws, was fun.
Wow.
And when we went into the business values,
Yeah.
fun was also in the business values.
How does you say that? So I suppose someone watching now is going, I'm sure there's a lot of people would say, yeah, we want to have fun at work. Did they explain what they meant by fun at work? I mean, we've seen the Google, you know, with the slippery slides and the pinball machines in the lunchroom and that. Did they then have a discussion of what fun actually meant to them as individuals within a business, what it would actually look like?
Yes, they did.
And was it different?
They understood very clearly that they were able to joke with each other. They were able to tell jokes to each other. They were able to have in-jokes that they could relate to other family members.
Right.
And that could be used in the workplace as well. So humour was a part of it. Lightheartedness was a part of it.
Yeah.
A time for the hard work to be done, and a time for that let go a little bit of that pressure. If we're at work, sometimes the 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 hour days can be so full of pressure that you need a release. And having the fun part of it, then it's okay, today, because we've worked so hard for the last 10 days, we're going down to ride go-karts for an hour.
Okay.
So it can be go-karts, it can be paintball, it can be go to the beach, it can be have a barbecue.
Yes.
There's all sorts of variety. It comes back to what you articulate and what you believe in.
John, on that one, when you got fun, and I can understand that works when, you know, if me and you were brothers and we're in the same business and we get along and that's our fun, how does the family then, when it employs someone who's maybe not a family member in, how do they educate them that what is meant by fun and like put those boundaries of what they classify as that's going too far, but this is acceptable? Did they have discussions around that?
Generally, in the workplace, the term fun is generally within boundaries.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it's not something you're going to go and put a pin on somebody's seat so they're going to get hurt themselves. I mean, so there's within parameters, but there is the ability to take a break.
Right.
There is in this particular family, there's an understanding that yes, we're going to work really hard, but we're also going to be able to build in time to have a breath.
It's a bit like you hear, I think it's the Google story when they said, that you had to have 2 hours a week or whatever it was, or Friday afternoon, I can't remember what it is exactly now, where you were meant to work on a project that wasn't directly related to your job. You had to go and work and think of an idea for somebody else's division.
Yeah.
And that was one of their values as the Google family, I suppose you'd call it, said, this is we want people to have fun, and this is one of the ways they'll have fun. They can go and look at someone else and go, I've got a great idea. And it may not necessarily relate to what they did.
So when we're talking about active, reactive, okay, having the ability to sit down and just talk about the values is a really big part of being active. We're choosing to do this.
Yes.
We actually buy into it. Reactive, we've got to do some values. We need to have some values to work by. I was coaching and mentoring a particular CEO of a $400 million international business and walked into his office one day and he had a big smile on his face. He said, John, have a look at this. And I said, what am I looking at? He says, I've just rewritten the values for the business. And I was sitting there dumbfounded. He decided the night before that he would rewrite the values for his business with no consultation with staff or employees or the board or the owners.
He wasn't ex-military, was he?
No, but it's sort of like, well, it's nice for him to articulate it, but how does he get buy-in from the rest? And in a family business, if we can articulate our personal values, then we can articulate them in a business sense, then it's an understanding that slowly, over time, the employees get the feeling of understanding and culture that's created in the business, and it has an alignment and a focus and a clarity about it.
So when you look at families and you say, okay, and someone says, oh, I want to get proactive, there's certain things I should be looking at, and maybe, hands up, maybe some people don't know what they should be looking at. Values is obviously a really good one. Do you find any others that have cropped up you go, that's a really good one you could start working on and maybe get someone like yourself in to facilitate through the process? Is there anything, we've got values, is there any other areas they should look at to be proactive in? It's different for every family business.
Sure. I mean, if I'm a son working in a business and dad is in the business, mum's not, maybe there's a couple of sisters or a cousin in the business, and I'm paid a salary. Am I getting a fair salary? What's a fair salary? How do we benchmark? What industry am I in? What is it like somewhere else? Am I working just because Dad said one day, son, this is all going to be yours? And there's nothing written down, so I've got an emotional connection and an ownership, but am I being paid a fair salary? Or if somebody was to come and make an offer on the business, were the profits so low that if somebody else was to come in and replace me, the profits would increase? In other words, I was getting overpaid. Or am I getting underpaid and the profits are inflated?
Yes.
So these things reflect on the business. Are we running a business or are we running a family? The questions that need to be asked. Okay.
And we hear, and you're a member of the FBA over here, and we hear quite often that dad has had a business, mum and dad, suddenly something terrible has happened to dad and can't work, and so they've virtually dragged one of the children back and gone, dump, it's yours, fix it, run it. Even though the son may not be working do you still encourage, this is the business, but who's related, and have conversations even though they don't work in the business, so we can plan for that type of scenario?
That's an active conversation, isn't it?
Yes.
If you're proactive and you want to go out and have everybody understanding what the business is about, how the family's wealth has been created, and that one day maybe the shareholding is structured in such a way that you might get shares, do you want to be interested to know how the money is made? Do you want to be interested to know that if you're a shareholder and things get tough, you might be asked to put money in because it's a family business? So when else are you going to have those conversations? If it's after the fact,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, the business is struggling. Started looking after Dad's records. I've found we've got a big hole. There's a bucket that's been leaking.
Yeah.
We need some money. You're a shareholder. I need to get you to dump some money in. Why wouldn't you try and resolve that and look at those opportunities? Or instead of being a problem,
Yeah.
look at them as an opportunity to check and restructure and actually stabilise a business.
Do you find as an advisor for family businesses, one of your roles is to start shifting people from the reactive, because normally you get called in because something has happened. And
More often than not, yes.
And so, look, just put this fire out for us, fix this. So you get that done. But then do you like to go, okay, we're getting that sorted, but to educate them, and as part of your role is helping people become proactive in their business and enjoying the process?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it happens over time. It's definitely a time thing. And families over time start to get used to working together, talking together.
Yeah.
And there is a level of best practice that you can achieve where families get together once a year and they have conversations about family. They have conversations about charity that might be involved in the family. They might have conversations separately about the business and what it means to the family.
Yeah.
So there's lots of opportunities in there for conversation and to be proactive.
I guess people watching could say, it all sounds really nice, John, but it's too hard. I haven't got time. What's the honest answer for that one? How do you deal with it? I'd like you to help me, John, but I don't know if I've got the time.
If you don't make the time for something like this, whatever you have in your head as the plan and the outcome in the future is more likely than not to happen. If you have a picture in your mind of what you would like the future to look like, you're going to have to work at it.
Yeah.
You're going to need to put a little bit of time and a bit of priority around it, aren't you?
You certainly are. You certainly are. John, someone watching and going, okay, I know, hands up, me too. This is an area I would definitely struggle in. And I see the huge advantage of having an outside facilitator like yourself, an independent, who's not emotionally attached but can just care enough. I know you're independent, but you actually care enough to make the family business better. What's the best way of them contacting you? What's that first discussion going to be like with you?
Contact me, john@johnbroons.com,
Yeah.
or the mobile 0433 131 070.
Yeah.
The first contact is really just to have a chat. 15, 20 minutes on the phone, give me a call, let's have a talk.
Yeah.
I'm happy to talk. There's no charge for the first conversation, probably for the second, because I need to know who you are.
Yeah.
I need to know what you want, what your family's about. And we need to work out what you might need.
Do you find, and this is probably just a little bit off, but I just want to clarify this. Do you find that when you sit with the families and you start talking to all the family members, which you do, that because of your independence, you're able to glean those gems, like that fun comment you made earlier, that then can bring a family together closer and unite them?
Yeah. It's only when someone goes and asks you questions that you answer me and I find out more about you. So I know a little bit about your life, your kids, your wife, what you like to do, set up TV stations in your spare time. These kinds of things help me understand the dynamic at play. And it's a very, very involved dynamic. And in this family sense, unless I can get really clear about what your ideas are, maybe how you see the family, what you have as your goals for 10, 15, 20 years out as an individual, they may or may not align with the business. But that's okay when I understand then I can prompt the questions that you will need to ask other family members.
Yeah.
Because it's not my family, it's not my decision. So I don't tell you what you need to do. I will ask you lots of questions.
Yeah. And uncover truth.
And by asking the questions,
yeah.
you then start to work your path out. Sometimes, and a lot of times in fact, when I say, what do you really want? It really is a difficult question for people to answer.
Yes.
They struggle with, what do I want? Because the simple answer is, oh, I want more money. Well, how are you going to get more money? Well, I've got to work.
Yeah.
Well, if you work, and the way you said it just then is work, then it doesn't sound like you really enjoy what you do. You come here to work? Yeah. Do you think you'd be happier working somewhere else? Well, my skill set is in this field, right? And I'd much rather be over there. So why are you working here in the family business then?
Mm.
So is it the right person in the right job?
Yeah.
Or is that person better skilled somewhere else in the business?
Yeah.
Or get that person to go and live their life where they're happier, have an individual who is not necessarily family related in the position, and give them an opportunity. The individual who's actually enjoying their life is getting some value, and one day they may come back.
Yeah.
If they choose, but then it's got to be about choice, doesn't it?
Got to be about choice. When you do this exercise, and I am conscious of your time, when you do this exercise, what do you think is the biggest benefit the families get when you join them in this journey to take them from reactive to proactive? What do you think they really get out of it at the end of the day? What benefit do you think it brings to them all?
I honestly believe it brings clarity. If you're just working in a business and the money comes in and one of the parents or one of the relatives gets to choose what happens with the money, you're just an employee with no other communication than day to day, do this, do that. Is that really what you want to do? And you could be the type of person that's all you want out of life. You're very happy working, doing a job, knowing that you're in the family business. That's great. But if you've got something to offer and you want to change that business for the better, but you're not allowed, how then do I approach those people that we need to have a discussion about?
Wow, a discussion indeed. Mr. John Broons, a family business guy, taking you from being reactive to proactive, getting that clarity, and I guess enjoying the journey you're on.
Yeah, a lot of people enjoy, but could actually improve their enjoyment. Not be so challenged, and the questions, they get to ask more questions.
Wonderful.
To get clarity for themselves.
Your website again, John?
johnbroons.com.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.